guys, Anne-Marie here. Happy Halloween. Today I'll be sharing a fun card using Honeybee Stamp's Hoosier Cabinet Lovely Layers dies. I'm a little late to the Hoosier Cabinet card party, but I became obsessed with these dies and I have a ton of ideas for different themes and holidays. So let's jump into Halloween. I wanted to make a bit of a dilapidated, spooky cabinet like a witch has. So it's going to have some creepy surprises lurking behind the doors and some common Halloween symbols along the front. I discovered while I was making this that I have a dearth of Halloween stamps and dies. So I punted with what I had available, but I have ideas for incorporating ghosts and skeletons and witch accessories, etc. So I'm already thinking of how I can make another one next year. So I started with the base cabinet die. I cut the very bottom layer and the top trim in black textured cardstock, and then the face, drawers, and doors out of the purple textured cardstock. I wanted it to look a little wonky, like, haunted houses kind of look in most representations. So I tried to purposefully glue things askew, but I honestly didn't have to try that hard. I have shaky hands and it just naturally happens. I also inked the purple cabinet with more purple. I inked pretty much everything with more of the same color and sometimes a little bit of black or brown throughout to give that kind of dusty, distressed appearance. The knobs were also cut out of black. And while I was at it, I cut some out of white too. You'll kind of see them in that upper right corner, but I'll get back to those in a little bit. I'm trying the Barely Arts glue for the first time, and that stuff, I have to work quick. And again, with shaky hands, that doesn't all, that's not always a good thing. So you'll see when I line it up later, there's going to be a little learning curve for me with this glue, but I did what I could. And there's the assembled base cabinet. So now I'm going to use the book dies from the fall add-on set for the Hoosier cabinet, and I'm going to make some spell books. So I wanted them in a variety of colors, so I cut the book die out of a variety of colors, and then I snipped apart the books and reassembled them onto a base so that I had a variety of colors. I lost my cutter bees. I don't know where they are. So this was kind of painful. I just had to use my regular scissors. And my space is even pretty clean, so I'm very annoyed, and I'm probably going to have to buy another pair this weekend because I can't function very well without some microtip scissors. So you can see my little spell books there, and now I'm going to make my jack-o'-lantern. I'm going to use the pumpkin, and then there's like a mini pumpkin. These are also from the fall add-on set of dies for the Hoosier cabinet. And they're kind of almost a realistic looking pumpkin. I used to have like a Sizzix die with more of kind of cutesy pumpkin, and I don't know if that would have helped. But what would have really helped is if I had my microtip scissors, because when I go to add the face, well, you'll just have to see when we get there, because right now I'm just going to glue on the stems and then let those dry and set them aside, and I'm going to move on. So this is going to be for behind door number 1. I wanted to make some simple potion bottles. I was lucky in that I did have a secondhand stamp and die set in my stash with potion bottles. So I just stamped and cut those out. I did ink the edges because I'm really not wanting white, stark white on this card. And then I glued them behind door number 1. All of this stuff I just glued straight behind the door. I didn't add any shelves or anything. I kind of thought about it and I fussed with it, but it really wasn't going to look right. So I just didn't. And you'll see later on, but I add tiny little labels to these as well. All right, you can see on that cardstock, I practiced my spider web. That will come into play later. I am trying desperately to cut out the jack-o'-lantern face at this point. But with these regular scissors, this was so painful. It was so difficult. I was trying to make like a little one-toothed wonky grin and a couple of little triangle eyes. And it is not perfect. It was so difficult to do, though. I just kind of decided it was fine. After all, this whole thing is a little wonky, so the jack-o'-lantern is just going to be wonky too, and that's fine. And here I just go ahead and glue in the potion bottles. So we've got 3 elements roughly in place. Actually, I take it back. I don't know that I've glued those in yet, but that's the door that they're going to go behind. For door number 2, I wanted a poison apple just waiting to be used. So I used the cloche die from the holiday set. I cut the base out of the same zigzaggy gray and black I've been using for other black items, such as the backdrop to the cabinet and some of the spell books. I also cut a little top for the glass dome out of the same paper. I did this because I wanted to use vellum for the cloche dome, but I wanted to be able to secure it with my glue, so I was using this to cover that up. I also used the caramel glaze, dulce de leche, whatever that is, dye. It is from also the holiday add-on, but I used it with bright green to make oozing poison for the apple. The apple itself is from the fall add-on. The oozing poison does kind of overtake the whole apple. So when I layered the apple, I pulled the top red layer of the apple down just a little, and I pulled the brown layer with the stem up just a hair to elongate the apple so that the red is showing out of the bottom and the stem out of the top of those oozy poison drips. Now let's add a familiar. I did have a kitty stamp, all loaf-catted, in my stash. So I stamped it on the same black chevron paper I've been using, then fussy cut it and used a pink marker on its ears. And then I wanted it to overlap the books a little bit. So he's going to sit up there on the shelf there with the books. For door number 3, I don't know why, but I wanted a jar of eyeballs. So I thought they might be easy to make, definitely creepy, and maybe an unexpected surprise for the card. So I cut another set of knobs out of white cardstock, and then I just dotted the centers with the marker. I also wanted to make them kind of bloodshot, but I didn't have any pen that was fine tipped enough. So my husband had a good idea. He recommended using something that wouldn't absorb the ink that I could kind of stamp the veins with. So I crinkled up a piece of acetate and used my candied apple distress ink to stamp these faint red zigzaggy lines for veins in the eyes in some of them. It was a perfect effect. I loved it. I also cut the jar twice, the bottom layer in the chevron paper and the top layer in the acetate, plus the lid in black chevron, so I can again secure that lid without the glue showing. And then for good measure, I just scattered a couple extra eyeballs in the cabinet. My biggest problem was the irises spreading out, so I'd recommend testing your marker and use something fast drying so the color doesn't wick out from the center, because those look like really weird eyeballs. There is a close-up of a bloodshot eyeball. They're so teeny tiny. Just gonna tuck those eyeballs under door number 3. And I only wanted 3 open doors, so I did glue down that 4th door. So now it's time to add my spider web. I just used the white gel pen to draw on the purple doors. It got a little wonky, but again, everything is wonky. So when stuff went wonky on accident, I just tried to embrace it. And I did make a little spider out of a matte black enamel dot that I had, that I added little eyes to. And then I drew the little 8 legs for the rest of the spider while he sits in his little web. Now I'm getting out my base cabinet die again because I'm going to make the actual base for the card. So these are supposed to fit on an A2 card easily. So I went ahead and just chopped an 8.5 by 11 piece in half. And I'm going to fold that as my card base with a top fold. And then I'm going to secure that top fold with some washi tape onto my cutting plate with the die itself, the very top edge of that die, off the fold. So just above the fold. That way the fold will not be cut and the card will hinge open from the top. And again, my kind of wonky hands made me not able to work quite fast enough to get the card all lined up. So I just touched up with my black marker along the edges to cover any white that was peeping out. And I secured a few corners with my glue. And then I'm going to stamp the sentiment for the inside. And voila, there is the finished card. I just love all the little peekaboo surprises. I think it's adorable. I love it, love it, love it. And I totally want to keep it for myself. So. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like. Next time, I'm hoping to have my next set of vintage paper embellishment tutorials wrapped up, and maybe a junk journal spread soon after that, and then we're into Christmas card season. So I will see you then, and in the meantime, I hope you have a happy, scrappy week. Bye.